If you see a creature with eyes burning of cedar, you need to read this. It's a matter of life and death. Written by Bourne Beach. The military base is a splotch on the map, a pockmarked erased smudge of something that was and no longer is. It's a memory that somebody's trying to forget, and this woman got roped into it somehow. I want to know why. She's sitting across from me. Her eyes are downcast, her blouse is torn, and her copper cheeks are freckled with spots of crimson. I don't know if this blood belongs to her or somebody else, but I figured by the end of this, I'll have a pretty good idea. Taurus? I say. She nods silently. She's still not certain of who I am. If I work for the government, if I'm a hired goon, or if I'm just some psychopath that just saw an opportunity and went for it. Truthfully, it's a little bit of all three. Did you come alone? She shakes her head. Her eyes are transfixed on a dirt, concrete floor. She's rocking back and forth in her chair. And if she had any tears left, I suspect they'd be all over her cheeks by now. But she's long past crying. She's been hollowed out, emptied. How many were with you? Her gaze swivels to me. For the first time, she sees me there, sitting in the rickety chair, a leg thrown across my knee and a clipboard on my lap. Who are you? She croaks. I'm a friend, or at least that's the closest thing you find to one right now. I'm here to help you, maybe, here to set the wrongs you did right. Don't you put this on me, she says, half rising from her seat. I never. Relax, I say, lifting a hand, coaxing her down. Look, I'm not saying you caused this. I'm just saying you might have gotten the ball rolling again. What does that mean? It means places like this. I wave my hand, gesturing to the broken down military facility outside. Are usually abandoned for a reason. She settles back down into her chair, and her knuckles clutch her jeans. This wasn't my fault. No, not entirely. Who else was with you? The corner of her eye twitches, and I think she might try and make a break for it. But instead she asks us a question. First, tell me who you really are. No bullshit this time. No bullshit? I lean back in my chair, tap my pen on my clipboard, and appraise her with a look of dissatisfaction. Alright, I'm an inquisitor. I work for an organization known as the Facility, one that specializes in the removal of supernatural entities. I came here looking for a local urban legend, and instead, I found you. She stares at me like she's waiting for the punchline. Now, I say, clapping my hands, since I've been a good lad and told you my secret identity, why don't you go ahead and tell me yours? Her eyes narrow, and she shifts in her seat. I'm a journalist, she says at length. I was here investigating something big, a conspiracy. My pen scribbles across my clipboard, and I scratch my chin. Conspiracy? Huh, you one of those flat earth types? Fuck off, she says. If you're here to put me away, then go ahead and try it, but just know I'm not talking without a lawyer. I frown, looking around the messy barracks that we're sitting in. Lady, you're 60 miles into the jungle, sitting in a military base that officially doesn't exist. And you think you're gonna talk to a lawyer? You said yourself you work for some facility? That means you probably got protocol to follow, that you can't hold me without due process. Frankly, I don't know the first thing about due process. I crack a gallows smile. But I tell you what, if you could find me when this is all said and done, then feel free to serve me a subpoena. I might even respond. Anger dances in her olive eyes. Her orbital is bruised, just like her arms. Just like her legs, she looks like the physical embodiment of a hurricane that got mugged by a tornado. I don't want to fuck you over, I tell her. I don't want to hurt you either. This might be hard for you to believe, but what I want to do is help you. That's so, she mutters. It is, but first, I need something from you. Her mouth becomes a thin line. Her fingers drum across the fabric of her jeans, an unconscious action to release small amounts of her flooding anxiety. She looks scared. I'm not sure what she's been through. Not yet, but I like to know. Tell me what happened down there. She doesn't speak, so I do. Inside the bunker, I say, place I found you stumbling around delirious and rambling. Something happened down there, and I want to know about it. And I'll sit here all day and night until I do. There's a vicious, predatory glint in her eyes. like she'd like nothing better than to just get out of that chair and take my head off. But she doesn't. "If I tell you," she says, voice hoarse, "then you let me go? If you tell me, I'll even give you a ride out of this jungle." She glances out the window to the dilapidated base surrounding us with its crumbling stone architecture and overgrown dirt roads. We're far from civilization. Very far. It's a fact that's weighing heavy on her mind. That much is clear. "I think," she breathes, "I think I saw the devil down there." I whistle. Now that would be something. The woman's mask slips. Just for a second, I catch a look at the pain boiling inside of her, the trauma, the hurt. She looks like she's about to have a breakdown, like the weight of everything is about to crush her where she sits. She thinks I'm playing her for a fool, mocking her nightmare. "I'm sorry," I say. I shift in my chair, take a breath, and swallow my own insufferable arrogance. I'm not trying to make light of what happened, but when you've been doing this job as long as I have, a bit of dark humor helps the day go by. "Please," I gesture to her, "go ahead." She studies me, her eyes trailing up and down my suit to my briefcase on the table between us and the clipboard on my lap. "You said you were looking for an urban legend. Do you think this thing might have been what you were looking for?" "It could be. The truth is I've been scouring this area for weeks looking for several different entities, and I haven't so much as found a hint of their whereabouts. It's like they vanished into thin air, as if they never existed at all." "And you'll stop it?" she says. "Kill it or whatever?" I nod, letting my jacket fall open to reveal the revolver on my hip. "That's the plan." She nods, takes a shaking breath. "It started with a tip," she says. "I got a tip from an informant, an old man named John with leathery skin, a dark beard and pale eyes. He told me he heard screams coming from the military base in the jungle, an old one that's been wiped from the maps. He said he used to work there in his youth, that they used to conduct human experiments there, and he believes that they started those experiments again." Sounds like the story of a lifetime, seeing as he's not with you. I'm assuming he's dead. She looks down, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes. So how'd you two find the bunker? Did you hear the screams the man talked about?" "No," she says. "We just saw the hatch sitting open." "To the bunker?" "Yeah, but we got curious. Hard not to be when you're in our position. You see an open bunker in the middle of nowhere, in a place that's so abandoned that officially doesn't even exist anymore. Well, you start asking questions." "So you went inside?" She nods. Her hands wipe the onset of tears from her face. "We did. I went in first, and John, well, he came down behind me. We climbed down the ladder, a ladder that seemed to go down forever, descending into the bottomless abyss. It was total darkness. Thankfully, we brought flashlights." "And what did the flashlights show you?" "Mostly just narrow stone walls of the tunnel. It was long, deep, and it seemed to go down forever. And the ladder was rusty enough that it had me nervous. From the looks of it, this base hasn't been in use since the Cold War, and it still showed that. Every rug was rusted so badly I thought it might snap the second I put my weight on it, but somehow it didn't. We kept going down, and it must have been 5 or 10 minutes before we started seeing platforms, the sort with steel doors, entrances to the different floors of the bunker." "Anything remarkable about them?" "Well, for one, they were all welded shut. Floors 1, 2, 3, all the same. Big steel doors welded shut from the outside, like they never wanted anything to get out or in. All except the last one." "Was that one open?" "You could say that. It looked like something had punched through it, straight through 2 inches of reinforced steel designed to stop the shockwave of a fucking nuclear blast. Something had torn into it like a can opener." She pauses, takes a breath. "At the time, I didn't know what I was looking at. I thought maybe the government had planted C4 or something to breach the door because they forgot their stupid quarterly reports inside or something. I don't know. I ignored it though, saw it as more of a stroke of luck that we could get inside at all. And what did John think?" She bit her lip, lets her eyes drift out of focus as she recalls the memory. He said he felt a great deal of fear coming from the inside of that bunker, that it felt thick in there, like he could almost taste it. I raised an eyebrow, glancing up from my clipboard. Odd remark. "Well, like he said, he used to work there apparently, way back during the days of whatever twisted shit they'd been conducting. It made sense that he'd be on edge. The woman runs a hand through her tangled hair. In retrospect, I don't know. I don't know why I agreed to any of it, but I think I was just sick and tired of writing biographies of local food bank heroes and stupid fucking soccer teams. You know, I wanted something big, something important. You wanted a Pulitzer Prize. Her expression falls. Maybe I just wanted to convince myself that I was a real reporter and not some hack. I don't know. It doesn't matter, I tell her. Not now. So you find this mangled door at the bottom of a dark nuclear bunker with a man that could pass for a serial killer. What's your next move? The woman gives me a bladed look, the sort that's saying I'm turning into an arrogant prick again. I'd seen John around town, she says. He didn't have a rap sheet, nor a rhesus. The man was just panhandling outside the newspaper and kept to himself. I had no reason not to trust him, alright? Besides, he's dead now, so it doesn't matter. She stares a hole into the dark concrete floor. Our next move is to push forward, to see if we can find some kind of evidence of the shit John had mentioned. So we do. We pass break rooms that look like time capsules. There were still moldy plates on the table, still vending machines with candy bars from the late 1960s. We pass dormitories, or barracks I suppose. Long rooms with bunks stacked floor to ceiling. We pass a whole lot of nothing, and then something brittle crunches beneath my feet. Oh, bones, she says. We round a corner of the tunnel, and we came face to face with a hallway full of bones. My pen scratches across my clipboard. 9 times out of 10, these leads go nowhere. These so-called events are nothing more than people suffering a bad case of panic or delirium. But this could be the real deal. What sort of bones? Do they belong to an animal? A human? The woman shakes her head, swallowing. Neither. I'd never seen anything with the shape of these bones. One was like a horse crossed with a scorpion. A long, narrow skull with a segmented, blade tail sticking out of his forehead. It was horrifying. Human experimentation. I settled back into my chair, my heart pounding in my chest. How long has it been since I've had a real case? Something more than a scared old lady who thought she saw a ghost, or a little boy pranking his kid sister. It feels like forever. How many bones were there? Piles of them. They were stacked along the wall, with a little pathway between them. John, he picked up one and brought it over to me. That damn horse-looking one. He asked me how it made me feel, and I told him to drop it, to back off. He wouldn't though. He backed me up against the wall and brought the skull right up to my face, so close that the tail of that calcified scorpion was brushing my cheek. And he told me to describe how it made me feel. For the expos, he said. He said I should get my opinion while it's fresh in my mind. What a thoughtful guy. She looks up, giving a half chuckle of disbelief. Yeah, real gentleman. I told him it scared the shit out of me, and that I was done with whatever this was. Seeing these things in person was too much. I snapped a few pictures with my camera and turned to leave, and that's when I heard the clatter. The clatter? From the direction we just come from. It echoed across the tunnel like a siren, a metallic ching, ching, ching that told us we weren't alone anymore, that something was coming down the ladder. She sucks in a breath, as though the memory is having a physical effect on her. Her body strains in the chair. I froze, she says. I didn't know what to do, what to say, or how to even process my thoughts. I just froze, and I probably would have died if John hadn't grabbed my arm and told me we needed to go, needed to hide. He pulled us deeper into the tunnel. He explained that there was another exit to the bunker, an industrial entryway that used to bring freights inside, one that exited somewhere into the jungle. My heart was beating so hard in my chest I thought it was going to burst. We were alone in this abandoned fallout shelter, a kilometer beneath the dirt with no reception, no means of defending ourselves, and we just walked through a hallway full of fucking bones. The woman leans forward, chokes back a sob. I didn't know what to do, so I let John take the lead. We ran through tunnel after tunnel, twisting and turning so many times that I lost track of where we were entirely. All the while I heard this almost electronic howl, like microphone feedback echoing behind us. The reverberating sound of heavy footsteps slapping across cold concrete, giving chase to us somewhere in the dark. Where did John take you? She looks up at me, tears staining her eyes. To a wide chamber, octagonal in shape with a scatter of doorways all around it. The heading above the entrance read Contaminated Sector 5A Feeding Facility. The woman pauses, her breath catching in her chest. It takes her a second to speak, and when she does, the words come out trembling, broken. The place he took me was hell on earth.
This is your